All right, well, hi everyone. Welcome to the family session at the Festival of Innovation. Over recent years, family targeted experiences have become more and more prominent, from entire IP focused worlds to retailtainment experiences, FECs, and even kids' first coaster experiences. So, in this session, we'll be digging a bit into the factors driving this growth and the design strategies in the creation and delivery of these types of experiences. So, I'm really pleased to be joined by Andy Fastman, who's Senior Vice President, and Greg Senna, Vice President, Creative Development, both at Hewitt Zollers Inc. So thanks, Andy and Greg, for joining us today.
Oh, our pleasure.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
I wondered if you could kick us off by just briefly introducing Hewitt Zollers and what you both do.
Yeah, so we are a fully integrated architecture and engineering firm. We are currently, as the logo says, celebrating our 50th anniversary, and Greg and I happen to be sitting in the room that up until 2 days ago had our time capsule, which we just sealed to not be opened again in 50 years, and I'm hoping to not be anywhere near here when they reopen it.
What made it into the capsule? What did you put in?
Well, it was a variety of things. There were some keepsakes and souvenirs from, over the years of, marketing efforts and some old project work. People, put in T-shirts and stickers and other memories. Every office sent over kind of a packet of things that they collected in the office from the various people, from the archives. And then our CFO is a proponent of what we call the Iron Butt Challenge, which is a minimum 12,000-mile motorcycle ride in under 7 days.
Wow.
So he visited all 26 of our office locations on his motorcycle in 4 separate trips, logged something close to 100,000 miles crisscrossing the US doing this tour.
Wow.
And we put his logbook in where he logged every stop, and every member of our team at every office signed his guest book. So that went in, although he was quick to say he Xeroxed all the copies, so he has his own keepsake as well.
Yes.
But the original went in the time capsule, which I thought was fascinating.
Yeah.
And then we all got a sticker, one of those oval bumper stickers that look quite like the European country indicators. So
nice.
yeah, so everyone's got those. So to speak more to the company, beyond the anniversary, we have 7, we call them practice areas, which are 7 verticals. 3 of them are purely architectural. 2 of them are purely engineering, and then the other 2 are mixy-matchy, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And I think my math just added up to 7. Yeah, it did. And so I am the practice area leader for our commercial practice, which has focused traditionally on hospitality, entertainment, corporate office spaces. Since I've been here, we are leaning into taking our experience within the world of experiential and immersive design, taking that out of, the theme park specific and pushing it into everything else we do. So not only are we touching, our traditional typologies, but in addition to that, we've been helping the healthcare practice, our institutional practice where healthcare and education live. What does immersive learning look like? What does, how do we make concierge, hospitality-based healthcare? So things like that. And then our most recent development is our, we've been leaning into our creative development, and that's why Greg is sitting here.
Yeah.
So I'll let you introduce that a little bit.
So the thought on this is, when you have the Disneys and the Universals, they do a lot of this work in-house, but there are so many different groups. And as you said, that location-based entertainment, that secondary and the regional markets are just expanding so quickly. And even when you see those regional parks, and many of them they're fantastic, they are expanding where it might be just thrill parks or thrill rides and things of that. They're adding in dark rides. So there's a lot of companies that are able to do flying theaters or dark rides that are media based, and that gives an opportunity to bring in intellectual property, because intellectual property is finally getting to the point where it's way easier to get than this mentality of, well, you buy a studio and then all of the things in that studio you can use. Intellectual property isn't just a cartoon. It's not just an action movie. It can be a cooking show being turned into a food and beverage experience. Everything has the opportunity to be immersive or experiential. So in addition to FECs, you're seeing the growth of experiential dining and retail. Everything is not just about the product, it's the experience of getting the product. So creative development at Hewitt Zollers is there to help those clientele get through ideation to delivery. And sometimes that means that we're going to help you actually do the creative, but most often it's us working with other creative firms to take the idea and actually make it something that can be designed and realized in real life and get through that process. So it's a tool to allow those in the industry, for developers to deliver and open and successfully operate their attraction, whatever it is, whether it's cultural entertainment, location-based entertainment, and of course, as you started out talking about, family entertainment.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it sounds like a really exciting kind of time for the business with this new part of the group, but also, as you said, Andy, about kind of the experiential work going into all sorts of different verticals. So it must be great fun for you guys.
It's exciting, it's actually exciting.
Really. Well, let's kind of dive in then into kind of family attractions. So you've both worked on tons of these types of projects globally. What do you see as the kind of major trends? Where are they evolving as guest expectations shift? Are they going towards those immersive, multi-generational experiences?
I mean, I think it's going in various directions, and I think the various directions are affected by where, on the globe we're working. But I think the major global trend is, yes, it is toward experiential. I think we're also finding that, attention spans have changed, especially if you're looking multi-generational. Yes, the adults are just as bad with the phones and the doom scrolling. The kids, getting them to look up from the phone is almost impossible at this point. It's almost like the younger, the more engaged. But we take that as opportunity. It's the opportunity of, hey, we can get something app-based, or something interactive where it's an AR overlay. Definitely the experiential and the immersion, the escapism, even in a family entertainment center, has become far more important almost than the activity itself. It's the how far from reality can you get, and how long can you keep someone there, and how long do they want to be there?
Yeah.
And too, with the gaming world, you talk about doom scrolling and you have the device in your hand, and that ties you back to gaming as well. And because there is so much media so readily available and consumed in such a mass market way, the expectations of what is storytelling has gone up. Video game storytelling is through the roof, so that engagement and immersion into a space is at an all-time high. The ability to do that. So the really great things happening around the world is, there's all this technology and there's all of these different ways that you can consume it. But the really, really great things are, we're going to tell a great story, but only to a point where we have world built and set the stage for you to actually come in and participate.
Be a part of the story.
Yeah. So, giving the consumer agency in those spaces that's really where all the great successful things around the world are happening, when the guests become the characters. They interact with the space instead of just viewing it. But again, it's like the consumers are becoming more and more sophisticated every single day. So it's the job of our industry to stay ahead of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you mentioned kind of giving guests agency and kind of exploring a space. How do you approach that when you're trying to do that for different ages and different members of the family? That's a real challenge, isn't it?
It is. I mean,
it's an opportunity. It's not. I wouldn't call it a challenge.
They're all opportunities. Nothing is a challenge. I think part of it is, my background is, I'm an architect. Everything is a design challenge. It's how I've approached life for the last, I'm not saying how many years, a lot of years. Um, but so I think the question is, how do you design your way around it? And again, I think this is where you can do the spatial, the environment, the show set, or the scenery is one aspect. We went and benchmarked. I'm going to go like super agnostic and not give anyone an advertisement here, but we benchmarked something that is recently opened 2 nights ago. It was
We benchmarked it. It didn't open 2 nights ago.
yeah, we were there 2 nights ago. It opened recently, but not 2 nights ago. We experienced something that the IP lent itself, I would have thought, to a more adult crowd, and yet there were 7 and 8-year-olds in there, and their reactions were almost shocking, I would say. Like, where I expected a fear and overwhelmed reaction, they were giggling and having a blast.
And even within our group, we had one person in our group who wasn't super familiar with the IP, with the story. But afterwards, when we were, doing our little
Post-mortem.
our discussion on, the good, bad, and the ugly, which, by the way, there's very little ugly. The good on that was he felt engaged in the attraction, even though he wasn't as dialed in on the story as others might be.
So what was immediately evident was you were given a device in your hand, which gave you, as Greg was saying, the agency. It enabled a level of interaction that, and mind you, it was a very simplistic device. It wasn't like, a high-tech laser gizmo. I'm guessing it was RFID enabled, or, it was interactive. Someone did some technology.
Yeah,
it wasn't
it's a
just
prop.
but you had that prop and you had a headset, and what was amazing was the headset gave you a level of atmospheric. There was a feeling of I'm trying to be deliberate in my words. It brought the ethos of the IP kind of very close into your mind, without kind of overshadowing it. You could still hear the people you were with.
Yes, but
Right.
the other interesting thing is, because you're, for throughput, when you, just on the operational side of it, for throughput,
I was getting there.
you had a large group of people all with headsets, but at the same time, the headset where it would be like, okay, everybody, we're going to do X next. That X would be a different audio for
For each
different
group.
groups of people. So even though you
Right.
have, 50 people in the experience at one time, you have smaller groups of 12 or 13 that would go and do specific things in a wider space. So it and again, in video game terms, it became almost open world.
Mhm.
There's lots of other things. You're passing other groups, whispering things that you saw. Oh, by the way, so it created a community amongst those people while being able to direct in multiple places. So it wasn't bottlenecking the experience.
Yeah, and it kept it very fluid. And then I would have to say there was, at the same time, there were live action actors in it, which really added to, I think it adds to the humanity of it. It kind of personalized the experience quite a bit.
Yeah.
So it was, I know it's a hammer and a nail type of thing. I know Greg and I were doing the same thing. I was looking for the edges. I call it looking for the edges. When you're in a dark ride with a video immersion screen, it's like, where's the edge of the screen? You try and where does the line of sight fail? And I mean, we found a couple of, there were a couple of spots where it's like, oh, you could have kicked the plug a little further off stage, because I was like, oh, I can focus on nothing but that. But other than a
Yeah.
couple of fussy little, probably housekeeping, zip ties that they missed, I couldn't find many edges. And I think that's the consumers are getting far more observant,
Yeah.
far more demanding. And I think where we find the design, where the design is challenging us, is to continuously up that ante and continuously give the consumer something new and something novel, without going too far where it's, where you're in surreal territory.
Yes, it needs to be kind of easily understood, so you can pick up the device and go for it straight away, isn't it? Without
Yeah.
those instructions to explain to the whole family.
Yeah.
No, fantastic. Well, that's great that you were impressed with the attraction. And you touched on it, Andy, just at the beginning. You said, "Oh, well, of course, it depends what country you're in." So that was my next question. Really, is what kind of cultural differences do you see in family-orientated attractions around the world? Do you have to think differently in different markets?
Absolutely. And not so much on the family entertainment, but having worked on one of the projects that I had in the past, and again, I guess we probably don't want to be advertising for people too much, but
Correct.
There was a show that I was on the production team for that had existed in one place, and we moved it to another country. And the subtle thing there is rewriting a script. Sometimes jokes don't play in other cultures. Things that are funny in North America would completely not make sense in other cultures. Sometimes it's as simple as that word doesn't exist here. So if the translation ruins the joke or whatever. So the localization of the story is a huge part of it. Just in the language, the slang, and the type of humor. Those just as simply put down to the story, that can be a huge difference. Other cultures, a color could be bad luck. A number could signify wealth or bad mojo. So there's lots of little things that you always need to make sure of. To
connotations of concepts. What is it? In Asia, you're not haunted; it has to be mystical. For instance. Spirits and spirituality. And I'm not even speaking to, I don't even want to get into the religious aspects of it, but it's just, culturally speaking. And, there are levels of acceptability of all different sorts of things that would be edited on television differently in different countries. Relationships with physicality, relationships with violence, relationships with, and you see it a lot in the gaming space where you can't portray blood in certain aspects, things like that. And, this translates into, into a cultural study, and, and then let's put on top of it, we're talking family. So how do you get something that is not only culturally acceptable in a region, but also age appropriate top to bottom?
Yes, definitely. I mean, and different families might kind of come in different groups in different cultures. They might be larger groups in certain countries. More children in certain countries. It's interesting how you're designed for different groups as well.
Another thing more on the facility side that often gets overlooked is cultural approaches to queuing. The further west, you go, the more apt we are to stand in a queue, in a single file line, so to speak.
Oh yeah, we're the best at it in the UK.
Yes. Yeah. Oh yeah, you guys are phenomenal.
I think the only ones I've ever seen do it better are Hawaiians or Polynesian. Oh yeah,
I did not know that.
Yeah, like there was a movie I saw that that described it. Whenever I was down there, it's like they would all be sitting down, but on the line would be their flip-flops. And it was a scene in the movie where they just like put their shoes where they were in line so they could go sit down. But it just kind of, I think it's more relaxed. But queuing, British.
Yes.
But there are certain cultures where queuing does not exist, and as a result, interestingly, in cultures where people are not so apt to queue, we tend to tighten up the queue lines, give it less space to force the direction of the flow. And it's not just the the queuing aspect itself. This affects throughput, this affects hourly counts, and theoretical capacities, etc. And we have to take all those metrics into account. It is what it takes to pull off the story. Sometimes it's not the story that changes, but it's how do we pull off the story or make it function within this space or that space.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think if we speak now a bit about the creation of the experiences, when What
Mhm.
common mistakes do you see developers make when they're planning a new family attraction? Without naming names.
Go ahead.
Yeah, this is one of the biggest soapbox arguments that I have, that I talk to clients about for the last many years of my career. The biggest mistake I see is that there is an expectation that if I build a really cool attraction, it's going to succeed. And
Right.
ultimately it may, but you find that the cooler the attraction, the more expensive it was to make. Oftentimes, sometimes not. But it comes down to, I would argue that largely the ticket price pays to operate the attraction, and it's not where you generally make your profit and your higher margins. Revenue operations, food, beverage, merchandise, and value-added experience. You look at, things like, and I'll throw it out there because it is what it is. But you look at Diagon Alley, and it's a perfect example. When the first Harry Potter attraction opened, you would wait 45 minutes for butterbeer and 4 hours for a wand. And when they did the second attraction, they made it easier to do all of those experiences. So the throughput went, much higher. People would get in, they would have their experience, they'd buy their thing, and they would be able to move on to other parts of the park, which made other people be able to get in there. So the idea of increasing monetization actually increases guest satisfaction. So when you do that, you see people come in and go, okay, we designed everything, and then somebody goes, well, you know what, it's going to be popular during the evening, and families, you really kind of should feed them. Cool, put a hot dog cart over there. And the hot dog cart might be checking a box, but it's not maximizing the opportunity to bring in experiential into the meal as well.
Yeah, it's funny. I know this is another one of your soapboxes, but the missed opportunity of stopping short of full immersion. And as Greg is saying, I think sometimes you not only miss an experiential opportunity, but you're missing monetization. And food and beverage is a great example of, and it's so hard to be kind of brand agnostic about it, but we have seen in recent offerings, let's go into the theme park world because it's easy and many people have been. Food and beverage have become experiential. Going going to the bar or restaurant that is themed with whatever the IP is in the land, and the food is themed, and the food is common food, but the hamburger happens to be square, not round, because that
Right.
fits part of the narrative.
Yeah.
Or
But
a
even
perfect cube of lasagna because again, it fits in something thematic.
Yeah.
Or
you take it out of the theme park, even movie theaters. Popcorn buckets. Right now, popcorn buckets are huge. And a buzzword right now that really describes it is Heroes Artifact.
yes,
I went to see a Ghostbusters movie and I bought a Ghost Trap popcorn bucket. I went and saw
I don't have
Captain
anywhere to
America.
put my buckets now.
Right? It's so you end up needing a whole room in your house, but it's
Did you
that
really buy the
takeaway.
shield buckets? You could never.
I did. I have it. It's up on my
Yeah,
shelf.
I know it's all on your shelf.
So it's it's a slippery slope where you go down and you start collecting those, but that's revenue operations. And when you do it really, really well, it's like, hey, have this experience. I'm going to do this and I get this takeaway. Now, when I go into the experience, this takeaway that I have, do an Easter egg where if you have this popcorn bucket and then you go into an experience, that popcorn bucket can be a Easter egg that if you do this unlocks another little morsel of entertainment.
Yeah.
So the idea of that monetization of buying that thing is a value added inside the attraction. So you can do these things and you're increasing monetization, but you're also increasing guest satisfaction because they want those things. It's not just, hey, I sold a thing, therefore I made more money. It's I sold a thing that
Enhances the experience.
And conversely, what that does is, well, I need that part of the experience too, so I'm going to sell more. So that every part of that metric and monetization increases, but you never lose guest satisfaction. When you do it right, the guest feels like this is part of the experience and I want to do it and participate, instead of you're nickel and diming me, you're making me spend this money. You do it right, everybody's happy,
Yeah.
and you monetize your attraction in a way that you're able to have long-term success.
And
Yeah.
I think it also gives you longevity. A lot of these interactives, we as a design community have to be very careful. A novel concept this week is great. Maybe a novel concept this year is great. If there is no way to build in some future proofing and to build in some variability or randomization or something, um, it's great to have your hero item and it lights up in the spot. By the third time you're there, they're like, "Hey, watch, buddy." You go with your new friend. You go, "Hey, my thing's gonna light up right here." By the fifth time, you're like, "Why am I'm leaving it
Yes.
home. I don't want to take it again."
Yeah.
So, to make to infuse a level of, hey, these aspects change, or to program it in so that in X number of iterations or cycles, it can be changed, even if we don't know what it is yet.
So
Yeah.
it's repeatability,
Yeah.
and that's a huge part of it. If the basic first generation of escape rooms was, you're at an international spice bazaar, and if you find these things and put them on the shelf in the right way, the door unlocks. And like next time you go, like, oh, I'll unlock the door. I just know this. So the
Joke
repeat,
aside, we've seen that movie.
Yeah.
Where they fail, they come back to it. They go,
so
come back, do it again, failed the
Yeah.
next step, and
so what that translates to is you get bored with it.
Mhm.
So, having something that can evolve, and the technology where it's like media based, so you're able to be programmatic in the media, that helps make it repeatable. At the same time, there's the trick where you can go competitive socializing, where you can gamify it. You add in an app that keeps a score, and so you're going with your friends. It's like, well, this time I'm going to beat you, and it's the competitive socializing has done really well in things like pickleball or axe throwing, or all the way back to like bowling and
Yeah.
darts, way back in the day. Bowling and darts, that's competitive socializing.
we just went to a bowling party at IAPA.
Oh, yeah.
How many hours did we spend bowling?
So those
It's the
kind of
new
things,
networking.
those kind of things are great. But when you bring in repeatability, and then you bring in redemption and rewards. So redemption is you're at an arcade, you get the tickets, you get enough ticket, you can get the plush that you like. But sometimes it's, hey, you do this 5 times and you get a free t-shirt. And the interesting thing about it is I sold you 5 $40 tickets and gave you a $5 t-shirt for it.
Right.
But it all ties back
Man, am
to
I
that,
proud to own that t-shirt.
right? But you earned that t-shirt.
Yeah, every time.
But that's where you go into the fine language of making sure that you're building attraction people are going to come back to. If you can't do that, and sometimes it doesn't meet the specifications, then you need a place that has a replaceable population, like tourist zones, Orlando, Las Vegas, the places like that have a constant replacement of population. Then you can do something that is so specific that it is a once in a lifetime, twice in a lifetime kind of experience, because you are constantly renewing your audience. And so there's flexibility there.
But even in those locations, things fail, and they
Sure.
they do stop working after a while. It becomes
Yeah.
a little
How do you
too,
future-proof an attraction for 20 years' time to make sure that the tech will still be running, I guess? What would
I
you...
don't think you do. I don't think the cycle is 20 years anymore.
Well, I think they can, but those are going to be more thrill rides.
Right.
Yes.
The when you're doing something with that kind of longevity, it's about the adrenaline and the emotion that something has. When you look at Small World has been there at Disney forever, and it will be there forever because it's always going to be the nostalgia. It's
actually a terrible attraction. I just went on record and said that. And yet every time I'm at
the fans will
a
come
Disney
after you,
property, I
Andy.
go. What's that?
The fans will come after you.
Well, Greg left the frame. No, I mean, let the fans come after me. I'm nothing if I'm not honest.
Yeah.
Probably to a fault.
Yeah, but on video, honest on video,
It's okay.
No, it's
No,
interesting.
but I think it's but it's the nostalgia of it, and I think quality gets a different. I think we have to be careful with, what's a quality experience. Um, Small World is for the nostalgic sake of it. It's you get in the boat and you go look at the figurines. And in
Yeah.
fairness, and yes, I know they've been redoing them and revamping them, but there is so much going on in there that every time you go, it's like, ooh, did they put a new figurine in,
Yeah,
or has that always been there? There's always something.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, you touch on a really good point. Nostalgia is a huge trend in family attractions where brands that the grandparents would be familiar with are now kind of
Mhm.
having their rebirth in a new franchise, and they're all experiencing the same thing together. So it's a real
But
driver,
you
I
have
think.
to remember too, nostalgia is not just a brand that you identify
Mhm.
with. It's not just an IP. It's an emotion.
Yes.
To this day, I had a conversation with somebody last week. I forgot where I was, but at one moment, I smelled a very specific combination of garlic, uh, uh, basil, and toasted bread. And
I'm
immediately,
hungry now. Thanks for that.
I immediately thought of my mom's lasagna.
Yeah, it puts you
And
back
it
to
was
a
just,
specific moment.
yeah, and those kind of things, when you think of the things that connect to the most visceral memories,
Mhm.
are smell and taste, and then of course there's other key things like music and songs. All of us, there's songs that we like that are today that we kind of hum along to, but there's songs that we grew up with that we remember every word to, that you can hear a song you haven't heard on the radio in 30 years and sing every word, and
Yeah.
it's because of the way our brain catalogs those visceral memories.
The question is, do you do that with your windows rolled up or down in the car?
It doesn't matter.
Okay. I like the lack of shame.
Yeah.
I still roll the windows up when I sing, but that's to protect the rest of humanity.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, I want to learn a bit more about the new creative development discipline at Hewitt Zollers. So, can you tell me a bit about the gap that you saw in the industry that kind of led to this development?
I think it was less a gap more than a trend.
Yeah.
When we're not the first architectural firm that has done this, and we just want to make sure that we're doing it with our perspective. So I think one of the reasons, and I mean he'll be able to
Mhm.
say I'm wrong or right or fill in the blanks. I
I'm
think
going to let you ramble.
the one of the things I think is unique about me coming in as a leadership position in this is that in my career, my first theme park job will have been 30 years ago in May. I was a booth operator for the horror makeup show at Universal. Started May 7th of 1997, and I'd worked in entertainment prior to that.
That's nostalgia. See, that was nostalgia happening. He remembers the exact date,
Yeah, I
probably what you were wearing, and I'm not being funny about it.
No, I don't remember.
No,
what I was wearing.
okay.
But the interesting thing about that is I did that, and then for a while I was a sound guy and mixed live sound reinforcement for festivals, and then I was a lighting guy. I went back to the parks for art department doing things like Halloween Horror Nights and Christmas holiday stuff, and then I started a scenery company and ran that for 4.5, 5 years before I sold it off to another company and got more into these capital projects. But for me, my progression through the industry is I've been involved in operations. I've been involved in the disciplines. I've been in the trenches. I know how these things are built,
Mhm.
and I know how they're put together. So it's not just this idea of I know the storytelling behind it, and I certainly have a career of storytelling and opportunity to do that. But I'm able to come in when I look at something and I say, I see your design, but you've got a closed loop with no way to maintain the inside of that loop. So let's fix that problem. So it's not just about the design; it's about helping
Love that
set
example.
things up for operational success.
Yeah.
What are you not looking at because you've never had to change a lamp in a $250,000 projector, and you're like, well, we got a catwalk there, but okay, but how do you? These some of these projectors weigh hundreds of pounds. How do you get it down? Because the catwalk goes to a ladder, not a staircase or an
Right.
elevator. So it's little things that you think about in that. So in the development of the creative, it's not just about the storytelling, which I'm happy to participate in. It's also about the setting the projects up for success. And so I think that's the unique thing
Mhm.
about what we're building is not just storytellers involved in the architecture, but operators, fabricators, installation, all of those things that we've done. We're bringing in teams that bring enough expertise to really dial in success.
And I think it's so coming from the architectural side of the facility side, in a traditional arrangement, let's call it, we receive inputs from, let's call it, the client. You know, the client group, the ownership group, the client rep, whomever it is. Usually, generally speaking, those people are they're outsourcing, or in the case of some larger larger companies, they have it in-house. We tend to get those inputs late. We tend to get them never. We are forced, as a design, in the design process, to make assumptions that sometimes are spot on, sometimes they're overkill, and sometimes we haven't assumed enough capacity, load, power, water, what have you. And we find that that process, if we're also looking at sustainability in the world, not just the industry, but to be able, I mean, we understand that we are building purpose-built race cars. We are not, this is not we don't build barns that, or prefabricated buildings where you could park an airplane in it, or you could make a mechanic shop out of it, or you could put an art collection. We are building something that is very specific to an end goal. And to do that, with more intentionality, we need to have all of the players, or we would love to have all of the players under the same leadership and under the same banner, where we're working together in concert. And I'm not saying it's adversarial by nature, but to be able to control the timelines, to be able to have everybody, where you just go, hey, buddy, look at my wall. Can your thing fit on my wall?
Yeah.
And he comes over and says, hey, we have an animatronic here. We're going to need power and data and something that can support 9,000 pounds. And then, we're able to tell the structural engineer, hey, we're going to put a wall here. It needs to be able to support that. It becomes a much more fluid process, and it becomes a much more informed design from top to bottom. And that level of integration, you ask where the holes are. That's what I've always been missing from the facility side of it. Is I know what I need. I know when I need it. I need the expertise to be in my, on my team designing it, rather than waiting.
Yeah, and ultimately, when the end user, the client, the developer, whoever else, what this does is it eliminates scope gaps, schedule risks. Everybody, especially the developer, somebody with the land, the money, they don't know much about the rest of it. They just know that it's going to draw people to the other whatever. They're not somebody who yeah, hey, can I get this in 3 years? They are, we want to break ground in 8 months.
Yeah.
We want to do this in like idea to opening day in 2 years. And it's really rough. It's not,
and those demands are increasing.
They're
not getting any more realistic.
The expectations on speed is absolutely I don't want to say out of control, but we understand why they're asking those things. So we have two options. We can tell them no, or we can do our best to provide solutions, and streamlining those processes, and be able to say, okay, you've got a pretty picture, but you don't have the technical design for the show.
Right.
We can help do that and answer some questions internally, so that the RFPs for those are going out earlier. We're getting the information back, those reactions and loads for the facility input, and that helps us stay on task.
Yeah.
So we're helping provide the expertise to manage the expectations on the other side to achieve those things. And ultimately, there are some in the world who are like, no, like if we can blame them for missing the schedule, like, oh, we'll take a job knowing we can't make it, but then it'll ultimately be their fault because they're taking 2 weeks to do a drawing review or any number of things.
Right.
Our perspective is, let's help them through that process and create success. And how do we layer the project to get as close to their goal as possible, but as a partner and as the resource, because it's one of the things that for the meetings that we're here in Dallas for this week. One of the things that was repeated over and over and over, Hewitt-Zollars has a 76% return client rate.
Wow.
That's pretty fantastic. We think it can be better, but that's pretty fantastic. And if our clients know that we're not a vendor, that we're a partner, that we are there for them because we're in it for the long game, and not for, hey, this is, 16 things can go wrong and we're going to blame it all on the developer, all on the client, and change order them. We would rather eliminate that risk and have success across the board, because that's the kind of thing that makes you world class, and that's really the culture that we want to build.
Definitely. I love that kind of working, that end-to-end delivery, just continuing forward to success all the time, just kind of focusing on the success of the project, and that will speak for itself for sure. But
I mean, the term turnkey is thrown around so often, and it's so cavalier. Oh, we're turnkey delivery. But I think I like to look at it as, we can go from before the blank sheet of paper, before we even start sketching, like, to the ideation of what is it, and then we sketch it, and to post occupancy. And I mean, I think with technology, and I don't want to make it a technological discussion, but between the design and delivery tools and the analytics, we are capable to stay involved post occupancy to help with the operations, to help with the facility management, with the operations management, etc. And I would be doing a disservice. We would be doing a disservice as a company to the entirety of what it is that we do, if we couldn't offer, here is the full delivery, and we can keep you innovating with you as you're already operating. And that's where I think we're trying to differentiate ourselves is, yes, we're turnkey, or yes, we're trying to be turnkey, but we are going to do it, and we're going to do it better. And we're going to stay engaged, as Greg said, with our partners. We're here to be a partner now.
Well, and everything's an a la carte menu as well. Some clients, some developers have other strengths that others don't. So, we're there to fill in all of the holes. But we're not hardline about doing every scope of work. It's like, where can we fill in the blanks and lighten that load? Sometimes those are things, when we look at a scope of work, they don't know that there are holes, and we can offer those, and they might get filled somewhere else. But we've done our job in identifying, hey, here's where the risks are. And here's our solutions. You don't have to take our solutions if you have something else figured out, or maybe you just didn't identify it. So but we did. So we made sure that there was an option there. So we're really particular about trying to make sure, as I said before, that we are the best partner that we can be on a project. And but at the same time, it's not so ego driven that
I think that's the whole point. There's no ego in it at all.
It's like, no, here's the options. How can we help you? And it's longevity. And to what Andy was saying about that post opening things, we keep in mind too that a lot of these, they're the first one might, their flagship, their opening, that's going to be the one where they're working out the bugs, because they might plan on doing 10 of them coast to coast. And this was the first one. So us partnering with them and figuring out, what was the good, bad, and the ugly for this first one. What do we learn from it? How do we correct that and move into those additional, and do they scale? And we're able to do that too.
Yeah. And I think to that repeat client, the ability to prototype and then roll out and then site adapt each one, it's such a misnomer. Oh, it's a lift. No, it's not. It's a brand new project.
Yeah. It's a local
that is similar.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic. Well, no, it's great to hear kind of the methodology behind it, and fantastic that repeat rate is shows really what fantastic partnerships you already have. So yeah, my next question, we ask everyone at the festival what's going on at the moment for their company. So the question is, what's your biggest challenge as a company at the moment?
Not being able to talk about what our challenges are because it's under NDA.
Yep.
I had to. I'm sorry.
Classic.
We hadn't gotten there yet. We hadn't blown. We haven't blown an NDA yet.
No, we did pretty good.
I
would say, you know, and the challenge that we have are the challenges that you want. You know, we're growth. You know, growth is always a challenge, but you know, it's intentional. It's it's growth by design.
Yes.
You know, so the idea of growing into a company, and again, I think we kind of alluded to it. You know, little things like coming here to these meetings and meeting a transportation area and say, hey, by the way, we worked on this.
Great.
We worked on this attraction over here, and again,
he's still confused, by the way.
Yeah, we worked on this attraction as an architect. We were the architect of record for this attraction. The attraction was based off of a cable-driven trolley system that had two vehicles that passed you. So it had a switchback, and it was basically the same mechanism as one of the monorail transit systems in Las Vegas. That is transportation. It just got a shell.
It got themed.
It was a themed experience shell over a transportation. So throw that on your marketing material as a talking point, so that when your clients look at this and your capabilities are like, wait, you guys did that?
And the poor engineer went.
Yeah. So those kind of synergies, you know, talking to our medical team, which it sounds like we have EMTs on staff, but no, talking to our medical
healthcare, we call them healthcare.
Yeah,
teams.
our healthcare teams, and say, you know, like the hospital experiences right now are getting to where they're very engaging, and you have everything from sensory sensitive spaces to engagement, colorful, playful areas for kids that are dealing with the most horrific thing any kid should ever have to deal with. But really, like, the hospitals are becoming more FEC than ever. You know, there are
Very
so
true.
many things about it that are there to help the healing experience by bringing laughter and joy. And so how can experiential teams like ours work across disciplines, across practice areas internally to help bring those opportunities to verticals that are unexpected? And so we're excited about making that.
And, you know, I mean, you ask what's our challenges or what's keeping us up at night. We landed here for this meeting, which was, you know, an internal meeting. 3 of us came from 3 different cities, sat in the airport for an extra hour when we arrived here to finish up an RFP to get it out the door, so we could come in here, have a meeting, and, you know, discuss what we just did. And we are sitting in a war room right now, about to do it again.
Yeah, there's a proposal on the screen across from us.
Yes,
that goes out by end of day. So we're, you know, the challenges are. We're busy, lots of opportunity out there. The industry is still moving and growing, and it's exciting.
You know, and of course the requisite keeping our staff growth, you know, in lockstep with the opportunities.
Yes, definitely. You want to be thoughtful as you scale up, don't you?
You want to be thoughtful, and at the same time, you know, we're in a traditional A&E firm where it's very hard to say mine. You know, we share staff across practice areas and across opportunities, and we do something here that is so specialized. It takes a different level of development of that staff to get the know-how and to understand technically what's going on. And I don't want to call it a specialty or a specialization, but it kind of has become that. You know, so we're looking at the, you know, internal political landscape of, we're still here and we're team players and we share, but our people are special. And they have special skills that we have nurtured. And, you know, please be respectful of, you know, if you need an architect for a week, that's great, we'll lend you one, but we're going to need them back, please.
Yes, Definitely. Well, just a kind of final question on your
Mhm.
point of what an exciting time it is in the industry. What innovations are you seeing? That we spoke about family attractions being kind of much
Mhm.
more than just a ride now. It's very much storytelling, placemaking, emotional connections. What innovations and technology are you most excited about?
I would say it's this might be dumb and counterintuitive with the question. The most exciting thing for me that is emerging is that we're getting better at storytelling. It's
Yeah.
not a technology, but it's becoming the forefront of what we're doing. And the technology, I mean, we've got a lot of it and it's great.
It's amazing.
But I think the important thing about the innovation, the important thing about the technology is, don't do a VR experience because you have VR. Do a VR experience because it's the best tool to tell the story. And
Yes.
we're getting better at that.
Yeah.
So when you talk about the success of innovation, the innovators are using the technology without it being seen.
Mhm.
And that's the most important part.
I think my answer to your question would be equally obtuse, which is it's in addition to everything that Greg just said, it is the speed with which technology is advancing right now that's more exciting. I don't know that any one there is so much available. We meet people daily that have a new this and a new that, and they're all good. And it is allowing us to tell stories better. And I think that's the exciting part, is that there is a technology for everything now. And if it's not here today, it'll be here in about it's here.
Yes.
It's that
Fantastic.
quick. And I think that speed is the exciting part.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's just staying abreast, isn't it, of it all?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Andy, Greg, for your insights. Great to kind of hear on all sorts of weird and wonderful things across the family attractions market, and certainly a mega exciting time. So we'll let you get back to your tender and finish up on that. But really appreciate your time today. Thank you for joining us.
Excellent. Thanks so
Thank
much,
you.
Ella. Good to see you.
Appreciate it.
It's great. And thank you everyone for joining us at the festival. If you stay tuned, we're about to announce the winners of the Family Innovation Award category next. So thanks. Thanks, everyone.
And now for the winners of the Blue Loop Innovation Awards 2025 Family category. Third place, Legoland Shanghai Resort Creative World from Shanghai Legoland Company Limited. Second place, Crocodile Island at Santiago Water World from Creative Studio Berlin. And first place, SeaWorld Yas Island Abu Dhabi from Mirar Destinations. Congratulations to all of the winners.